You heard about they're changing Aunt Jemima syrup?
Yeah, I heard.
That one was kind of like, I was like, I didn't know all that was going on. I looked into it.
I was never even like an Aunt Jemima guy, so I don't really care that much.
Racist.
No, I was into the what's it? I think it's called like cabin. It's something. I don't know. There's just like a picture of a cabin on it, so I'm like, that sounds like they'd know syrup.
Yeah, cabin. You're not a King syrup guy?
No. I know that's like the black Twitter syrup.
Really? Black people like that? My dad always used to drink that. Drink it. My dad always used to drink.
Dude, that might explain his fucking kidney stones, too.
Probably, dude. Like that. Maybe you should stop drinking King syrup, bro. First of all, it's a black thing. Second of all, you're not supposed to drink it. But I didn't realize like all the thing about Aunt Jemima. Like I read back, it was like the company started in like it was so old. It was like 1861 or something like that, or like 1869, maybe even earlier than that. And I think the original depiction was like a very stereotypical depiction of like a mammy or whatever. But then, over the course of history, it's obviously, it's like, you look at the bottle now, it's just like a black woman. And I don't think there's supposed to be there. I've never gathered any type of racial undertones from the bottle and from the logo or the branding or anything. And I don't think that they were intentionally, I don't think that it was supposed to be taken that way. But then you look into the history, like, okay, I guess this did evolve from that.
Yeah.
And so
it definitely started as like, do you want to have pancakes so good you'll think a slave made them? Get Aunt Jemima pancakes. That was literally their marketing.
Oh man. But I do wonder, like, who was thinking of it that way now? Because this seems like another situation.
It's definitely something that we've like distanced ourselves from as a culture. That like, it's like it was literally in everyone's homes and we didn't even think twice about it.
Absolutely.
Like, same thing with like Uncle Ben's, I guess. I saw that they were going to change their image a little bit, but I don't know what was wrong with that either.
Well, first of all, part of the reason I didn't set up tonight was because I was doing some scrambling Wikipedia and Twitter research.
You're throwing out your whole pantry.
Yeah. I was getting rid of everything. Fucking Big Mama's oatmeal. Get out of here. Terrible. Get out of here.
You tossed all your wrap snacks.
Fucking cereal. Black people O's. No more of these. I'm not eating these anymore. It's terrible. Chocolate milk? Chocolate milk? No chance. But I was scrambling through the Wikipedia page, and like I said, I looked up the Aunt Jemima thing, and I was like, okay, I see. I mean,
it was like a real person.
Yeah, it was.
They hired her as like the mascot and sent her around to like every World's Fair to be like, check this shit out.
Check this shit out. But like in that situation, I guess I can understand it if there were people that were mad about it. But it doesn't strike me that anyone really looked at it that way. It seems to me another one of those situations where a certain contingents of people decided they were going to look at something, go back in time, see that it was derived from something that was offensive or inappropriate, and then say, now we have to get rid of it 140 years later, even though no white person, black person, any person I've known ever in my life has ever mentioned Aunt Jemima as something that was troubling to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because, like, back then, I feel like Aunt Jemima would have been considered progressive because, like, candy was called, like, N-word babies. Like, little bits of, like, black licorice.
Yeah.
Like, that was literally, like, sold to kids as candy.
Yeah.
It's like, Aunt Jemima, what are you trying to do? Make them equal?
Yeah, you're humanizing. Like it's just so it's impossible to put yourself in the time and understand the context of the time that this is Reconstruction era America. This is right post Civil War, and a company made a black woman the face of their brand. So you could look at that and say it's a bad thing because of depictions, but also you could also look at it and be like, damn, that was kind of bold. They made like a black woman the spokesperson for their brand, and this woman like was like a famous, I think on her page it was like she was a famous like black storyteller and things like that. So it's like, all I'm saying is there's a lot of ways you can look at it, and if it was something that a lot of people were mad about and offended by, I'd totally support getting rid of it. But if it turns out that it's just a very small vocal minority of people that are going out there and trying to glean political clout and fucking clout points in general by trying to cancel yet another thing that because they can derive some sort of offensiveness out of it.
I mean, the way I kind of saw it was I honestly hadn't looked into it at all. I just kind of saw people posting about it, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Mm-hmm. Like, I never got that maple syrup anyway, but okay. Yeah. I kind of, to me though, I assumed it was like the right's response to like whatever, I guess, like the left is doing. I don't know what any side of politics is doing right now. I've been so fucking disconnected from everything. Yeah. But I'm kind of assuming this is like a right-leaning troll to be like, oh, you're going to take down our statues? Well, we're going to get rid of Aunt Jemima using your tactics.
Using your tax dollars.
We've infiltrated Antifa for months to learn how to cancel things, and this is whatever the fuck this. What's the dumb shit on Twitter where they do like, we have someone sent to CNN and we had them secretly recording their interns drunk at a happy hour, saying that if they actually had power, they'd change a couple things about the news. James O'Keefe, I think. What's he do?
I think that is what he did. That name sounds familiar, and what you're describing sounds familiar, but I don't know the exact details of the story.
Project or some bullshit.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. But
Project Veritas.
Oh yeah.
Just him making a video about that.
Yeah, I saw that. The thing about Uncle Ben is though, Uncle Ben was just a black guy who grew rice really well and was famous in the New Orleans area because he had like the best rice, and he was like the maitre d' at some restaurant. They say his character was modeled after like the maitre d' at some Cajun restaurant down in New Orleans, and they made him the face of their brand, and it's literally just an old black guy. And it's owned, what I think is so ironic about it is Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben are both owned by Quaker, which is a subsidiary of PepsiCo, but more importantly, they're owned by Quaker. And Quaker's about to change Uncle Ben's logo from an old black guy, even though it's not a racist depiction of a black guy. It's just an old black guy who was a real person who became famous for being good at doing shit with rice, which makes perfect sense to me. But it's like, dude, Quaker Oats, they're famous because their logo is just an old white guy. Like, that's the most famous old white guy ever, the Quaker Oats guy.
Yeah.
And so it's like now they got an old black guy for rice.
I thought it was Ben Franklin for the longest time.
Everyone, and I thought Uncle Ben was fucking
Aunt Jemima's
Aunt Jemima. I thought Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben were a thing, dude. I don't fucking know. That's literally how I looked at it. I never knew that Aunt Jemima was supposed to be this thing because it probably wasn't after the year 1930. I just thought that that's what Quaker did, dude. You got fucking Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, and then you got fucking Mrs. Butterworth is apparently getting Evolve branded too, because they say like the body style is modeled after it. Now I'm like, all right, now you're getting.
She's too thick, dude.
She's too thick.
What about all the A cups out there? No ass chicks.
Yeah, dude. No A cup chick is fixing up a.
What if they start doing Miss Buttersworth of all sizes? And you get it's like when Coke has the names on it, like share Coke with Jimmy.
Yeah,
they'll be like, oh, I'm getting the Miss Buttersworth that's like my body.
Yeah, you bring home pancake syrup and your wife gets mad. You're like, why did you get the B cup size Mrs. Butterworth? What the fuck are you trying to say? That's worse than getting low carb Mrs. Butterworth. That's getting the
Why
B
does
cup.
this Miss Buttersworth have giant cankles? You trying to say something?
I went to Build a Buttersworth and I got I got a custom made syrup bottle for you, honey.
I took hundreds of pictures of you in the shower and I had them turned into a 3D model on Fiverr. Went to Build a Buttersworth.
Oh man!
Look, I even got a matching Livestrong bracelet for the Miss Buttersworth.
It's just too, like I said, it's just too much going on. Fucking Land O'Lakes pulled the Native American chick off their butter, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they basically just deleted her from the picture. It's still like the mountain range and the lake.
Yeah, I just think we need to have
Which I mean is fair. It's called Land of Lakes. Like, that's what it looks like now.
Yeah, but it was like, the Native American chick because that was like, the Lakota Sioux or some tribe. I don't fucking know anything about it. All I'm saying is,
did Native American people know about butter? I feel like that was something that we brought over, I assume.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Did they have cows? I know they had buffalo. Were they doing buffalo butter?
I feel like they had cattle. I don't know any. If they had buffalo, they had to have fucking cows, dude. I'm sure they made butter and shit. I don't know. All I'm saying is, I am just as ignorant and you are just as ignorant as the average consumer.
Of course.
And so when I saw the Native American chick on Land O'Lakes butter, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. If I see a fucking Greek dude on Oikos Greek yogurt, what am I thinking in that situation? I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean, dude? What the fuck are you trying to say? Like, no, dude. I think we need to draw a line between an offensive depiction of somebody, kind of going back to the blackface thing in general, with the Chris Rock thing in specific. We need to be able to distinguish between a caricature that is meant to be offensive with the intent of being offensive, or just a regular depiction of something. Like Uncle Ben is just a black guy, and he's on your box, just like the old white guy on the Quaker Oats box. To say that is offensive almost seems more racist to be like, oh, even just putting a black guy on your box is offensive. It's like, why is a black guy offensive to you? Why does that offend you? Are you saying that just the idea of just being black is intrinsically offensive? It almost seems in those situations like more like you're the one who's making this weird, bro. I love Uncle Ben's rice, dude. I don't know how to fucking cook rice. Uncle Ben did.
I wonder what's gonna happen to the Cajun black girl in the Popeyes commercials.
Talk about a modern day thing that we might look back on 30 years from now and be like, and then you had the big black woman going, oh, honey, blah, blah, blah. Like, I could totally see that in like 10. I'm surprised nobody's called that out now.
I mean, everyone at open mics, you always hear like the comics around Black History Month being like, it's Black History Month because McDonald's starts having saxophone in their commercials and shit. And it's like, that's another thing that like probably in 20 years is going to be like, why were we just like doing that?
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's hard for me. And again, these are times when I wish that we were doing these podcasts in studio, because I'd love to have this conversation with Ivan or Dark Mark or one of our friends that could speak to it from their point of view and actually get an actual grasp of how they feel on the other side. But from my perspective, I look at things like the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, which is just like a guy on the helmet. It's a fucking leprechaun, and they're the Fighting Irish, and their mascot is a fucking leprechaun running around, and like nobody's mad about that. Or like you look at the USC Spartan or the USC Trojans or the Michigan Spartans or Michigan State Spartans, and it's like those are depictions of Greek culture, and nobody's mad about that. You have tons of situations like that, and I understand that there are offensive depictions of cultures, but also if saxophone and jazz is something that is emblematic of black music and black culture, which is a cool thing because saxophone and jazz is sweet and those are the roots of hip hop and stuff like that, then yeah, you put it in a fucking commercial. I look at that the same way when the McDonald's has their Greek yogurt thing and then you got the fucking bouzouki in the background. They got the Greek music in the background. That's an homage to my culture. I'm not offended by that. If you were making fun of Greeks by having us fuck a sheep in the background, then I'd be like, all right, now you're taking it a little far, buddy. I'm getting a McFlurry now. I don't want Greek yogurt anymore. You're offending me. But like, if you're just being respectful, there's always still going to be people out there that are going to try to make it into something it's not and make people pissed off about something for no reason. Yeah. Nobody was mad about that shit.
Here's one thing
Black
that we
people
don't
love Popeyes, bro. I love Popeyes.
Oh yeah, Popeyes is amazing.